Hey there, Brian Fitzgerald here with O'Rourke Hospitality Marketing. I want to do a quick video today about WordPress and talk a little bit more about WordPress speed. We are big fans of WordPress. We think it's a great content management system for hotels. And sometimes people ask questions about, is it good for speed and performance? Are there going to be issues? And so just wanted to talk a little bit more about that and answer some of those questions that come up. So in general, what we find with WordPress, or what's good to know about WordPress, is that it's very lightweight by default. And what we mean by that is it doesn't have a lot of extra code or extra features or bells and whistles that you likely won't need. It's very fundamentally very lightweight, and then you can of course build upon it from there and create the solution that you need. But from an overall standpoint, not a lot of extra stuff, which over time can create speed issues, or with those added resources or added things can create trouble with site speed and performance. The second thing is related to your hosting. So anytime you're talking about speed and performance, where you have the site hosted is going to play into that. So as your hosting provider, have the infrastructure, have the setup to allow your site to load quickly, to perform quickly. In general, avoid shared hosting environments. Those are often going to be coming at a much lower price point and might be attractive from a cost standpoint, but you'll almost undoubtedly run into speed issues at some point because you're sharing space with a whole bunch of other sites. So avoid shared hosting. Look into the more technical aspects of your host. Do they have certain features or certain things that they promote related to overall speed? And then lastly is just some other basics that are sort of general web development basics and other WordPress basics. So limit plugins. Plugins are used within WordPress to help create certain functionality very quickly and help cut down on development time. Plugins are great, but make sure you're using plugins that are coming from reputable sources. Make sure that any plugins that you're not using are removed. Plugins add some extra code and add extra scripts. So you want to limit the amount of those, really only leverage the ones that you need to. This ties back into hosting a little bit, but you should have a content delivery network, or a CDN. So depending on who your host is, they very likely have this option. Another option is a service called Cloudflare that allows for some content delivery. What content delivery is essentially, it's where a copy of your site is made in several locations across the country and across the world, so that if someone, say in California, is pulling up your site, it's not pulling from a server in Washington, D.C. It's pulling from something on the West Coast, and that might save a second or two, and that matters in our world today. Leverage caching. So there are a few different ways you can do this. It could be something done through your hosting provider. There are specific things that you can do in WordPress to enable this. And so talk to your web developer, talk to your web development company, make sure that you're leveraging caching. What caching does is it stores things locally on someone's computer, so that the next time they have to load that resource, they're not having to go all the way back out to that server. It's pulling it right off of their computer. Again, you're cutting down on seconds or half seconds, and all of that matters. This is probably the biggest one that we see. Make sure that images and videos are compressed. I can't tell you the number of times we've seen a client accidentally not save an image appropriately, not save it for the web, and upload a 10 megabyte photo to their homepage. This can be crippling. And as we all hopefully know, speed is something that search engines, particularly Google, are looking at quite a bit. So anytime your speed is affected, it can have a negative impact on your SEO. And that's one of the other reasons why we really like WordPress, is that it has a very positive effect on our clients' SEO and overall SEO performance. And then lastly is limit the number of external scripts. So you have scripts for things like Google Analytics. You might have scripts for Facebook. You may have a lot of other scripts. You're probably getting asked by every partner or provider that you work with to add a script. It could be Adara, it could be Sojourn, it could be your booking engine provider, it could be Travel Tripper, it could be TripAdvisor, a million different things. Really be careful. Every time you're adding a script, you're adding more resources that have to get loaded, and that slows down the overall performance of the site. So these are some of the things to be thinking about. This is a website that we built in WordPress just to demonstrate a WordPress site can perform very, very well across any speed testing tool. On the left is the Google tool. On the right is a tool called GTmetrix. And you can see that you can achieve very, very positive and high speed scores even with a WordPress site. So if a new site's something you're thinking about, you have questions about WordPress, maybe you have a WordPress site and your speed is in a tough spot, certainly get in touch with us. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.